Hey everyone, it's me again from a brand new filming location on my couch in my living room. Why am I in a new filming location, you ask? Well, I decided that I wanted to make something a little bit different today, so I'm going to do a how-to video. Yeah, a makeup how-to video, I know, right? Today I'm going to show you how to depan eyeshadows out of cardboard palettes and put them into a magnetic palette. So today we're going to learn how to turn this into this. Basically, the long and the short of it is, I have the Kat Von D Me Vida Loca Remix palette. I absolutely adore this palette, but it was limited edition holiday, and you know, in so doing, Kat Von D made this crazy, big, ostentatious packaging. The packaging itself is beautiful, but a little bulky and a little unpractical for my kit. But these shadows are gorgeous, and I desperately wanted to use these in my kit, but packing this big old vinyl record packaging just isn't practical. It takes up a ton of space and you're risking damaging the eyeshadows. You could use any magnetic palette at all. I just opted for a Z palette because they happen to have them on Friends Beauty's website and I could get 10% off because I have an account with them. So I ordered myself a Z palette. It finally got here in the mail and I went on the adventure of depanning this entire palette, and I figured I'd film it along the way. So in case you guys wanted to save space in your kit or save space in your collection, you could watch this video and learn how to do it. So if you guys want to know how to turn this into this, then just keep on watching. Hey everyone, okay, let's go ahead and get started with depanning the Kat Von D Me Vida Loca Remix palette. As you can see, I've already done a couple of pans here just to kind of make sure I've got everything together. So what you'll need for this is obviously the palette itself. You will need a spatula. If you do not have one of these, they can be bought at friendsbeauty.com. I'll list the link below for this one. This one's by Stilazzi. I got it for like $8 or $9. They're pretty cheap, handy to have around. If you don't have one of these though, don't worry. A small knife will also work for this, or I guess the back of a pair of tweezers if you're in a pinch, but honestly, this is the best tool for the job that I've found to prevent cracking. And you will also need the palette of choice, a pair of scissors, and a piece of scrap paper. Let's go ahead and get started. So you're gonna look at your palette. This is a cardboard style palette. So you're in luck in this case because cardboard will bend. So as soon as we dig our spatula down in there, the cardboard will bend to make up for it. So we're not gonna have a situation of getting stuck. So I'm gonna go ahead and do Dark Wave, the shade right here. What you need to do is you need to find a place, like here in Dark Wave, it's right along this bottom edge. You find a spot where that shade pan has a little gap, and you're just gonna take the bent side of our little dual-ended spatula here. I'm gonna lay this down on my surface, and I'm gonna dig down in here and kind of just stretch it a little bit, very gently, because we do not want to crack this eyeshadow. But what we're doing here is we're stretching the back of the cardboard, making more room for our spatula. And then as you get a little more room, I don't know if you guys can actually see what I'm doing, but you're just gonna try and lift upward. See, just very, very gently lifting upward, like so. And then as you lift up, you're gonna scoot the spatula underneath and try and get under that industrial glue. Because that's all that's holding these palettes in place, is just a dollop of industrial adhesive. Now if you're running into the glue itself, which there will be a little dollop and it'll be in a different spot in every pan, you can move around to the side here and do the same motion. We're just working along the edge of the palette, lifting gently and kind of scooting our spatula underneath. As we scoot, we're going to kind of hear that glue coming loose. Don't panic. It's supposed to happen. Now as we get this lifted up even more, you're going to be able to kind of see where that dollop of glue is hiding under there. So we can really dig down into the cardboard and get under that dollop of glue. I'm lucky enough that this particular dark wave has a pretty sizable chunk of glue under there. Woo! There it goes. We have pan poppin'. And there you go. The pan is out, nice and safe. It hasn't cracked, it hasn't broken, and you can kind of see on the back here this brown spot. That's the industrial strength glue. So eventually when you pry this around a little bit, it'll just pop right out. If it cracks for any reason, if you see a crack in the pigment, stop what you're doing, move on to another pan. You can always come back to it later. But if the shadow breaks, don't throw it out. You can fix it with some rubbing alcohol. So now that our pan has been knocked loose, we're gonna take our piece of paper and we're just gonna cut a small strip, not quite the size of the pan. And what we're gonna do with this little strip is we're gonna use it on the back of the pan to block that glue from touching the Z palette. Because as soon as that glue touches the Z palette, the magnet on the Z palette could get damaged. So we're just gonna use a little piece of paper on there. And luckily for me, the Kat Von D Mi Vida Loca Remix palette pans are already magnetic. So from there, I just take my Z palette, bam, pop it in there, you're ready to go. If your palette's pans are not magnetic, which some of them still aren't unfortunately, you can go ahead and use the magnet stickers included with your Z palette to kind of stick them to the bottom of those pans, and you should be able to get those done no problem. Now I will do a couple more of these just to make sure that you guys can see what I'm doing, but it's really just repeating that same process over and over and over with every single shade. So I'm gonna try Echo here. I'm gonna start on one of the edges that seems to have a little bit of a gap. You guys can't really see what I'm doing, but I'm just bending back a small bit just to stretch that cardboard a little teeny tiny bit. Get my spatula under there. The key, ultimately the best piece of advice I can give for someone who is trying to do this for the first time, is to go very slowly. Make each movement deliberate but slow, because these are still powder shadows. They can crack and break. And while we know how to fix cracked and broken shadows, there are videos all over YouTube showing how to do that, I would rather not have to do it if I don't have to. So there you go. There's one popped out. And now we're gonna go ahead and go over to our paper. We're gonna cut a little piece of paper. Just take that little piece of paper, stick it on the back here to protect the Z palette. Now you can see this one got a little crack in there, I think. Not a big deal though, we can just smooth that right on over. And there you go. And then we're gonna pop that right into our Z palette. Bada bing, bada boom, you're done. Now if you end up having to smooth over any cracks or anything like that, you may want to include a makeup wipe, because I'm gonna have eyeshadow all over me. And you do want to clean off the bent edge of your spatula between pans, just in case any powder got on there. Don't want that to happen. Now you do not have to use a Z palette for this. I got one because, quite frankly, I could get it cheap. Friends Beauty, if you sign up for an account there, you can get 10% off everything you buy. So I just went ahead and opted to use Z palettes because I can get mine for cheaper. But there are Z palette dupes all over the place. I've heard Makeup Forever makes one that can hold a ton of eyeshadow. which is really cool because I'm kind of concerned that this is the large Z palette, and I'm kind of worried this isn't going to be able to fit all 24 of these eyeshadows. We've got our pan for Muse popped out. Just going to take my little slip of paper, stick that to the back, and you can kind of shuffle it around so it's not showing through the bottom of the pan. Pick up my Z palette and tack it on in there and keep on keeping on. Let's go ahead into Anthem. Now some of these pans are going to be easier than others. Some of them are going to fit a little more flush, like Anthem seems to be doing. So you may have to work a little bit harder to get some space to slide underneath that pan. Bam. See how easy that is? And as you do this, as you work on it, you're going to get faster and faster and faster, and you're going to be popping pans out like nobody's business before too long. But again, this is just about getting brave enough to be able to do this, because I know I was terrified of the prospect of doing this the first time I did it. I was so scared I was going to break pan, or one of my shadows was going to completely shatter. And I was terrified, so I didn't do it for a long time, but then I finally was like, you know what? I really want to use these shadows in my kit, so I'm just gonna have to suck it up and deal with it. So right now in the large Z palette, I have 6 shadows over here, and that's gonna take up 1 row basically. But again, you can do this with plastic packaging as well, metal. If you have a little bit more trouble with trying to pry them out the way I'm doing here, what you may end up having to do is put this in a really, really low temperature oven for a few minutes just to melt the industrial glue on the outside, and then you should be able to pull it off very gently from there. Now Love over here is going to be particularly difficult because it is pretty flush in there. I don't have a whole lot in the way of an in, but there always is one. And particularly with soft textured shadows and shimmery shadows, you want to be super careful when you're depanning like this, because the shimmery shadows are more loosely packed, generally speaking, and they are going to be much more of a pain to get out. See? That one popped right out of there. So we've got our industrial glue on the back here, no problem. I'm gonna go over to my piece of paper. Sorry, I'm not showing you guys me cutting a piece of paper, but I'm literally just cutting a little strip of paper. This one might be a little on the long side, so we're gonna trim just a smidge off. Flip that pan over very gently, smooth that on there, and then pop it, bam, right into your Z palette. And that's basically it. That is how to depan the Kat Von D Mi Vida Loca Remix palette. I'm gonna go ahead and do the rest of this palette off camera, because I think I've shown you the technique enough times that you pretty much get the gist of it. If you didn't catch what I did, just go ahead and rewind the video, play it back again, because I do this, 3 or 4 times. I'm gonna go ahead and do the rest of this palette off camera, and I will be right back to show you guys the finished product. All right, guys, here you go. Here's the finished product. This was before I depanned it, and here is the after. How beautiful is that? Now you can, at this point, you can sort these eyeshadows however you darn well please. Hello everyone. You can sort these by finish, mattes and shimmers. You can sort them by color. You can sort them in a rainbow pattern like I've done here, with the neutrals on the one side there. But as you can see, one large Z palette will hold 24 Kat Von D eyeshadows. Now I've left about a fingertip width's worth of space between each of the rows of pans, so that way I can dig them out if I need to. When it comes to names, you can either put labels with the names of each shadow on the bottom of each pan, or look, you've got all this backspace here. So what you could probably do is just get these in the order that you would want them, type up a little cheat sheet of which shadows are where, and just tape or glue it to the back of your Z palette in case you want to know what names go where. And look at this. Like, this is what I love. Like, look at all of this space that we're saving. This is incredible. That's about it for how to depan shadows from a cardboard palette, specifically the Kat Von D Me Vida Loca Remix palette. Let me know if you guys enjoyed this, and I will make more how-to videos like this. I hope you guys found this video helpful and informative. If you did, there's a button for that. Spank that like button in the butt, you know it deserves it. And if you want to see more from me, subscribe and become a member of the faithful today. I put up new videos every Sunday. Thank you guys so much for watching and joining me today. I love you all, and I will see you in the next video.